Today's review will focus on Dehancer, exploring its features and functionality. So what is Dehancer? It is a specialized software designed for enhancing and improving the visual quality of images or videos, often to give them a nostalgic or vintage appearance. As a film emulation plugin, Dehancer mimics the aesthetics of various film types, allowing you to achieve the look of classic film stocks with digital footage. The plugin offers customizable options such as color grading, film grain emulation, soft contrast tools, and film damage. Dehancer is compatible with major professional editing platforms, including Adobe Premiere Pro, Photoshop, Lightroom, DaVinci Resolve, and Final Cut Pro. Before we get started, let's take a quick look at Dehancer Online, one of Dehancer's latest products. If you're focusing on our Premiere Pro and Photoshop review, you can skip this part. Dehancer Online extends the same film emulation tools to a web-based platform with a simpler user interface, allowing quick and easy access to professional-grade effects directly from your browser. To get started, visit the Dehancer website and navigate to Dehancer Online, then click on the Try button. Just like the desktop version, you can explore a free trial before making any purchase. Let's scroll back and click to upload a photo. Once uploaded, you'll encounter various film presets. Select the one that best suits your taste. Before starting color grading, let's turn off the film effects. Adjust the brightness and contrast by clicking on the light button. Here, brightness decreases from top to bottom, while contrast increases from left to right. Choose the option that best suits your image. Next, adjust the temperature and tint by clicking on the color button. Similar to the previous step, temperature increases from top to bottom, moving the image from blue to yellow tones, and tint decreases from left to right, shifting the image from purple to green tones. Select the option that best fits your situation. Throughout the process, you can click on the eye icon to compare with the original image. Click Adjust if you're not satisfied with the current view or wish to make additional adjustments. Now, let's proceed to the effects that enhance the vintage look. Bloom, which adds a soft glow around highlights, halation, creating a red-orange halo around highlights, and film grain, which provides a grainier look. Bloom and halation are particularly noticeable around light sources. Here's the before and after for bloom. Since halation doesn't make a visible difference here, we'll explore it in more detail with the Premiere Pro plugin. And here's the before and after for film grain. As you can see, adding too much film grain can negatively impact the image quality, so we'll keep this at a low setting. Finally, let's compare the image one last time with the original, before we applied the changes, and after. Basically, Dehancer Online delivers the key elements of Dehancer with a streamlined interface, making it ideal for users who prefer simplicity. Additionally, for those on the go, Dehancer also offers an iOS app, providing the same powerful film emulation tools directly on your mobile device. Now back to our main focus, Dehancer in Adobe Premiere Pro. To get started, you first need to download and install the plugin from Dehancer's website. Once installed, restart Adobe Premiere to ensure the plugin is properly integrated. If your footage was shot in log format, go to the Sequence tab and then navigate to Sequence Settings to set your project's color space to Rec. 709, providing a solid base for color grading and ensuring accurate color representation. If the working color space is also missing in your version, you can still adjust it by adding a LUT. LUTs, or lookup tables, are essential tools in Adobe Premiere that help you apply color grades to your footage quickly and efficiently. First, create an adjustment layer and place it over your clip. Navigate to the Color panel, and under the Lumetri Color tab, select a profile that matches the format of your footage. If you're unsure what format your footage is, just start with the Alexa default log C2 Rec. 709. Then navigate to the Editing panel. Under the Effect Controls tab, set the opacity of your created adjustment layer to ensure you're not clipping the blacks or whites because of the applied LUT. For this particular clip, we will set the opacity to 75%. As you can see, the image now has more contrast. Next, to apply Dehancer to your clip, create a separate adjustment layer and place it in your sequence. In the Effects panel, search for Dehancer and then drag it onto the adjustment layer. To start processing, we will return to the Effect Controls panel. A specific film profile will be set by default, from which you can select one that suits your taste. For this clip, we will be using Fujichrome CDU2. Under the Film Compression tool, we will increase the impact and tonal range parameters all the way up to compress the highlights and thus bring out details. Make sure to enable each tool before you begin working with it. Next, we will use the Expand tool to adjust the black and white points. During processing, you can always use the waveforms in the Lumetri Scopes panel for clipping control. A waveform touching the maximum value of 255 indicates that whites are clipped, and touching the minimum value of 0 means that blacks are clipped. If you don't see Lumetri Scopes, you can bring it up by going to the Window tab and choosing Lumetri Scopes. To access different waveforms, right-click and select your desired option. If we return to the Expand tool, for a more dramatic look, we will slightly increase the whites and decrease the blacks. Under the Film Developer tool, you can add extra contrast with the Contrast Boost. As the foreground appears too dark, we will brighten it using gamma correction, just a little bit. Next up is the Print Medium selection. It allows users to emulate various print mediums, enhancing images with traditional print characteristics. For digital projects, however, we opt for the linear setting to maintain the clarity and integrity of the original digital footage. This setting ensures that the unique characteristics of the selected film profile are preserved, while the effects of photographic paper are excluded. You can still use other parameters under the Print tool. Now, under the Vignette tool, we will first click Enable and then decrease the exposure value to darken the image from the corners towards the center, achieving a more cinematic and nostalgic look. To change the size of the vignetting circle, simply adjust the size parameter. Our footage still appears a bit bright, so we will slightly decrease the exposure parameter. This way, we can now move on to color grading. To achieve a vintage-style turquoise sky, in the Input section, increase the temperature and decrease the tint. For additional adjustments, use the Color Head tool to fine-tune the colors in your footage, allowing for precise control over color balance and enhancing the overall visual consistency. This tool also allows you to control the temperature of shadows, midtones, and highlights separately without altering the entire image, giving you more detailed control over the final appearance. Here's how the footage looks before and after using the Color Head tool. Experiment with the parameters to find the best look for your footage. Once you are satisfied with the color settings, you can move on to Old Film Effects. Let's start with Film Grain. Choose any profile from the list or click on Custom to adjust the amount and the size yourself. Using this tool helps us achieve a grainy look. For the bloom and halation effects, we will use another clip, as these effects are most prominent around light sources. As mentioned in Dehancer Online, halation creates a red halo around highlights, while bloom produces a soft glow. These are often associated with analog footage, so if you are aiming for a nostalgic feel, consider adding them to your clip. Here's before, and here's after. And before applying bloom, and after. Returning to our original clip, you'll see that bloom and halation don't make much of a difference, so we'll leave them disabled. Next, we'll add film damage. Effects like film grain and film damage require high processing power, so you might experience freezes during previews. There are several options you can try to address this. First, try lowering the playback resolution. Then right-click and ensure the paused resolution is set to full so you can see the image in full resolution when playback is stopped. Next, navigate to File, Project Settings, General, and make sure the renderer is set to CUDA or OpenCL for Windows and Metal for Mac OS. If you're still not achieving the desired performance, use brackets to set in and out points for the section you want to playback in your sequence, and then under the Sequence tab, select Render In to Out. As you can see, the bar in the selected section has turned green, indicating it has been rendered. Now the clip plays much smoother. Remember, you have to re-render any changes you make to the clip. Returning to film damage, just like the film grain, you can select a specific profile or adjust the parameters yourself. To achieve a more analog look, we will boost the amount of dust, hairs, and scratches. And here's how the clip looks with this effect. Next up is film breath. This effect imitates the behavior we see in old footage where exposure values continuously change at specific intervals. We will boost the parameters to enhance the visibility of the effect. To ensure a smooth preview, let's render the selected area again. Here's how it looks. Let's play it again from the beginning. As you can see, the frames sometimes brighten and sometimes darken. You can adjust the frequency by changing the period parameter. Let's leave this effect disabled. Now, let's focus on the gate weave effect. This effect mimics the mechanical swinging of a film strip as it is pulled through a frame window in a film camera and helps achieve a vintage look. If we apply the effect to our clip and render it again, here's how it will look. Since the camera was already shaking due to wind, we'll leave this effect disabled. And finally, let's explore overscan. Overscan involves scanning beyond the frame to capture the film's edges, including perforations and the interframe space. Filmmakers traditionally use this technique to ensure all potential image data is available for editing, providing flexibility in how a shot is framed and finished. In Dehancer, this feature allows you as an individual user to experiment with these extra details to creatively frame your shots. By applying overscan, you can enhance the authenticity of your digital footage, giving it a more genuine film-like appearance. For now, let's disable this tool as well and compare the final version of our clip with the original. Before and after. Now, let's move on to examining Dehancer's plugin for Photoshop. First, download and install the plugin from the website and restart Photoshop. Before we start, go to Edit, then Color Settings, and make sure to set the working space for RGB to the sRGB listed here. Also, set the options below to Convert to Working Space and check all three boxes. Click OK to proceed. Next, to load the image you want to work on, go to File, then Open. Then, click on Open Object. To apply Dehancer to your image, navigate to Filter, then Dehancer, and click on Dehancer Film. This will open a new window. On the left, you will find Films and Presets for film emulation, and on the right, a panel for adjusting parameters. Under Presets, you can choose from predefined film profiles, allowing you to switch between different film profiles with a single click without having to adjust each parameter individually. As you can see, when we switch to a different film profile, the parameters on the left change accordingly. If you wish, you can customize these presets to your taste. However, if you prefer to manually adjust the settings of your chosen film profile, you will need to navigate to the Films tab. For this particular image, we will be choosing Kodak Kodachrome 64. Make sure to check the box at the top to enable the film profile. Now let's proceed to use the tools on the right one after another. To convey the emotion we desire, we are making slight adjustments to temperature and tint, and also decreasing the exposure a bit. Next, we'll add some contrast to the image. And maybe we could add just a touch more. Then we'll brighten up the areas that seem too dark by applying gamma correction. Although it's not technically necessary at this point, we're going ahead with it since we'll be further increasing the image's contrast in our next steps. Since our image is mostly black and white, we won't boost the colors too much. Now, to tone down the bright sky, we'll turn on film compression and increase the impact parameter all the way up. You can always click the eye icon to compare your edits with the original image. Next, we'll keep refining by reducing the blacks and increasing the whites. This time, let's choose a specific photographic paper for the print medium. Although the default is set to Kodak Endura glossy paper, we'll switch to Fujifilm print film to see how it affects the image. Remember, each print medium adds its unique characteristics to the photo, influencing its overall appearance. To compensate for this, we'll go back to the Expand tool. This might have turned out a bit too dark, so let's lighten it up a bit. As we move to the color head section, you can adjust all 3 parameters simultaneously using the gang option, or tweak each one individually to find your favorite spot. To add warm tones selectively without altering the overall temperature, we'll focus on adjusting the shadows and highlights. Next, we'll introduce film grain. Since it already looks good, we'll keep this profile selected for now. Halation and bloom won't make a big impact on this photo, so we'll leave these effects disabled. As we continue with the film damage effect, if the default profile selected seems too intense for your image, consider switching to a different profile. Now that it looks more suitable, we can enhance the dust and scratches for this profile. Let's keep overscan disabled as we have already reviewed it in the Premiere Pro plugin. Next, let's activate the vignette. We will intensify the effect by slightly reducing the exposure. Moving on to the final adjustments, since the scratches are too noticeable, we will slightly reduce them. The image also appears a bit dark, so we will slightly increase the whites. Once you are done, click OK. If you need to make additional adjustments, double-click on Dehancer Film, and the window will reopen. To create a clear distinction between the sky and the trees, we'll adjust the black point, tonal range, and gamma correction parameters again. Also, since the film grain is not very noticeable, we will slightly increase it. Here's the before, and here's the after. Throughout the process, you can always click on the icon here to see the areas that are clipped. If the details in these areas are not crucial to you, or they do not detract from the overall appearance, just leave them as they are. Let's make one final comparison with a wipe transition. And that brings us to the end of our Dehancer review. Essentially, Dehancer provides a range of film emulation tools that integrate smoothly into your editing workflow. Its detailed film profiles and customizable settings make it easy to achieve classic film looks. Advanced features like precise color grading and realistic grain control help elevate the quality of projects, offering more creative control and professional results. Now, it's your turn to bring your vision to life with a timeless vintage touch.